I'll take the official questions. There wasn't an explanation for the tech that she got. I think it was pretty obvious that stuff was brewing, right? When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game. It's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete. And they're going to
Something unusual is unfolding inside ESPN headquarters. Behind closed doors, Disney's top executives are reportedly holding urgent discussions about the WNBA, and the reason is surprising. According to multiple whispers, a single player's treatment has triggered a corporate dilemma that could reshape the future of women's basketball. Why would the biggest sports network in the world suddenly question its multi-million-dollar investment? What did they find that made them reconsider everything? Yes, this involves Caitlin Clark, but not for the reasons you'd assume. This story has nothing to do with her on-court performance. It's what's happening off the court that has high-level executives losing sleep. What are they seeing that the public isn't? Why are insiders suggesting ESPN feels blindsided by the very league they just poured money into? And here's the question almost no one is asking. What happens when the network that shapes sports media decides it's had enough? The truth is far more complicated than anyone is reporting. And whatever happens next could determine whether the WNBA can survive the next 5 years. This isn't just drama anymore. This is business. And when billion-dollar corporations start running out of patience, people lose jobs, leagues lose funding, and players can lose paychecks. So let's break down what insiders say is happening behind the scenes, why ESPN may be done playing nice, and what it all means for the WNBA's future. First, let's rewind. Why does ESPN care so much about the WNBA in the first place? Because before Caitlin Clark entered the league, WNBA ratings weren't strong. The viewership numbers struggled. Many games aired on lesser-known channels. Casual fans weren't tuning in. Then Caitlin Clark got drafted and everything shifted. Whenever Clark plays, broadcasts suddenly pull in millions of viewers. Her debut drew record-shattering numbers. Indiana Fever games became must-watch television. Fans who'd never followed the WNBA started buying tickets and jerseys and filling arenas. Reports say ESPN executives saw this instantly. The ratings surge, the spike in social media engagement, and the explosion in merchandise sales. They thought, this is the return on our investment. But here's the twist. When Caitlin Clark isn't playing or isn't featured, ratings reportedly drop, sometimes by 60 to 70%. Games without her look a lot like the pre-2024 numbers that struggled to attract attention. From a business standpoint, imagine being in ESPN's position. You invest heavily in a league that relies overwhelmingly on one star. Yet that same star appears to be getting targeted on the court, hit with cheap shots, and given minimal protection by officials. Meanwhile, league leaders stay silent. Would you be thrilled with that investment? Insiders claim ESPN is anything but happy. After all, they didn't pay premium dollars for a league returning inconsistent ratings. Let's be honest, ESPN didn't invest for the sake of the entire league. They invested because of Caitlin Clark. And if the WNBA can't protect its biggest draw, or worse, if they somehow lose her, then what exactly did ESPN spend all that money for? Now let's talk about what's actually happening on the court. Because this is no longer just a business conversation. This is about a player who appears to be getting targeted, dismissed, and put at risk while the league seems to look the other way. Fans have been compiling clip after clip, the hard fouls, the shots to the face, the trash talk that crosses into hostility, and the officiating that refuses to intervene. And what does the WNBA do? Pretty much nothing. The commissioner releases vague statements about the integrity of the game, but avoids addressing the obvious issue. Caitlin Clark is being treated differently. Reports claim that ESPN executives have been watching all of this very closely. They've seen the viral videos of Clark getting knocked down with no whistle. They've watched her interviews where she keeps calm even though everyone knows she's taking extra punishment. They've heard analysts frame this as rookie initiation instead of calling out dangerous play. Here's what ESPN reportedly understands and what the WNBA doesn't seem to grasp. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's the product. She's the reason casual viewers are tuning in, the reason sponsors are knocking, and the reason the league is suddenly part of mainstream sports discussion. But imagine this scenario. Caitlin suffers a serious injury because of an uncalled dirty play. Imagine she misses half a season. Imagine she gets so fed up that she starts considering other opportunities. Insiders say ESPN is imagining these exact scenarios, and they're nervous. Because if Caitlin goes down or worse, walks away, what happens to those ratings? What happens to that investment? The answer is simple. Everything collapses. Sources close to the situation suggest ESPN has already begun running projections, and the numbers reportedly are brutal. Without Caitlin Clark, viewership could fall right back to pre-2024 levels, maybe even lower, because now the league's issues would be impossible to ignore. Casual fans gave the WNBA a chance because of Caitlin. If she's not there, why would they return? This is where the tension gets real. ESPN executives are reportedly asking the question the WNBA commissioner should have asked from day one. Why are we letting the only star that moves the needle take this kind of punishment? And they're not getting satisfying answers. Some reports claim there have already been conversations between ESPN and the WNBA, the serious kind. Not partnership chats, not friendly meetings, the kind where attorneys sit at the table and phrases like breach of contract and failure to protect the investment get thrown around. Because here's what most people don't realize. ESPN's agreement with the WNBA isn't just about broadcasting games. It's about broadcasting valuable games, matchups that draw viewers and justify premium ad rates. If those games stop being valuable, if the league star is injured, sidelined, or pushed out, ESPN could argue that the WNBA isn't delivering what was promised. Fans are already speculating that this is exactly where things are heading. ESPN didn't pay millions to cover a league in self-destruct mode. They paid for momentum. They paid for ratings. They paid for Caitlin Clark. And if they don't get what they paid for, they can walk away. So the real question becomes, what happens if ESPN decides it's done? So, what's the nuclear option? Terminate the contract. Now, of course, this isn't simple. Lawyers are involved. Negotiations are happening. Clauses, provisions, legal fine print. All the stuff that makes billion-dollar deals complicated. But here's the reality. When a company like Disney, one of the most powerful media corporations in the world, wants out of a deal, they find a way. Reports suggest they are exploring those very options right now. Imagine the headline tomorrow. ESPN to exit WNBA broadcasting deal amid concerns over league management. What happens next? First, the money stops. The current WNBA TV deal is reportedly worth around $200 million over several years. That money funds everything. Player salaries, travel, facilities, and marketing. Without it, the league could face serious financial trouble overnight. Second, sponsors panic. If ESPN is pulling out, what does that say about the league's stability? Suddenly, other companies start reconsidering their investments. Merchandise deals are slow. Ticket sales drop. Fans start questioning the league's future. Third, the players suffer. When the money dries up, salaries shrink, benefits vanish, and the dream of a sustainable professional women's basketball league starts slipping back into just a dream. And here's the most brutal part. It's all preventable. The WNBA could have protected Caitlin Clark, addressed the targeting, made it clear dangerous play wouldn't be tolerated, valued the very player who saved their league. But they didn't. Insiders say ESPN executives feel betrayed. They invested millions in good faith, expecting the WNBA to run its business professionally. Instead, they're watching a league implode while the commissioner acts like everything is fine. Sources suggest ESPN is already preparing contingency plans. What would their sports programming look like without the WNBA? Could they fill those slots with college basketball, international leagues, or other women's sports? The answer, absolutely yes. And here's the catch. The WNBA can't just find another ESPN. There aren't multiple billion-dollar networks lining up to broadcast women's basketball. ESPN was the lifeline. If they walk away, the league might not survive. Now, let's imagine the near-term future if insiders' fears play out. Scenario 1. ESPN stays, but only if the league makes changes. In this scenario, ESPN uses the threat of leaving to force the WNBA's hand. The commissioner must address player safety. Caitlin Clark must be protected. Game officiating and disciplinary protocols must be reformed. The message is clear. The WNBA's survival may now depend on whether they value the player who made them relevant in the first place. The WNBA, realizing they can't survive without ESPN, finally take action. Rules start being enforced. Dirty players get suspended. The league makes it clear. Targeting stars won't be tolerated. This is the best case scenario, but it requires the WNBA to admit they messed up. Based on how the commissioner has handled things so far, that seems unlikely. Scenario 2. ESPN reduces their investment. They might not walk away entirely, but they renegotiate. Payments shrink. Fewer games are broadcast. Some games move to less prominent channels. The WNBA survives, but in a diminished state. Player salaries drop. Growth momentum stalls. The league drifts back toward its pre-Caitlin Clark niche status, struggling for attention. Scenario 3. ESPN leaves and the WNBA collapses. This is the nightmare scenario, but insiders say it's not impossible. ESPN pulls out. No major network steps in. Sponsors flee. Teams fold. The league contracts severely or shuts down entirely. And here's the harsh truth. It was all preventable. All the WNBA had to do was protect their most valuable asset. Instead, politics and egos were prioritized, and now everyone pays the price. Here's the bottom line. ESPN is a business. Disney is a corporation. They didn't invest out of charity or social responsibility. They invested because they saw an opportunity to make money. And that opportunity has a name, Caitlin Clark. If the WNBA can't protect her, promote her, and build around her, ESPN has no reason to stay. The numbers don't lie. The ratings don't lie. Without Caitlin, the investment disappears. Reports suggest the clock is ticking. ESPN executives are watching. The commissioner needs to realize that virtue signaling and press releases won't save the league. Only one thing will: protect the golden goose. Because if Caitlin Clark walks away, or is forced out, the WNBA won't just lose a player. They'll lose everything. The checks will stop clearing, the lights will turn off, and the dream of a thriving women's basketball league will be over. The choice is simple: protect Caitlin Clark or watch the league collapse.